What's up, y'all? Welcome to Draw Every Day. My name is Sean, and today we are unfortunately mourning the passing of an all-time great, Brian Dennehy. He'll probably be most remembered for his portrayal of Willy Loman in the Broadway revival of Death of a Salesman, but for me growing up, he was just the actor that was in every single movie that was on television. We're going to be doing a portrait of him today, but before we get to that, if you could click subscribe and like on this video, we're going to be giving away a Huion H610 Pro graphics tablet at 1,000 subs. All you have to do to be entered is to subscribe and leave a few comments on some of these videos. I'll give you the rest of the details at the end. Alright, as I mentioned, Brian Dennehy was just an absolute staple on any movies that you would catch when I was growing up. The ones that stand out for me specifically are Rambo First Blood, Cocoon, and Tommy Boy. Rambo and Tommy Boy both really show his range because in Rambo First Blood, he was a real nasty, antagonistic piece of work. And in Tommy Boy as Big Tom, he exuded fatherly love and warmth. I'm far from an expert on Brian Dennehy's career, so I'm only mentioning the movies that meant a lot to me, and all I can say is that if you've ever seen him in anything, you know how he jumped off the screen. He just had such an amazing presence. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the drawing for once, huh? I'm using the same grid trick that I did before to try and block in some of these features. I gotta be honest, I struggled a lot with this one. Brian Dennehy has such a spark in that smile. He just has this, I don't know, it's an it factor, I guess, that just jumps out at you, and it was very hard to capture. A lot of times men are easier to draw, but I found in this case that it was tough to capture that little glimmer and the mischievous look on his face, and there were many points in this drawing where I wanted to quit. I think that if you're an artist who ever feels that way, you should really understand that everybody feels that way every single time when you're working on a drawing. There's always a point where you just want to quit, and the only thing you can do is to keep pressing forward. And the great thing about doing a time lapse is that when you get to watch it fast, you breeze right past those points where you had trouble, and it makes everything look so easy, but it really isn't. I'm struggling the whole way through this drawing, just trying to get it to work desperately. Right now, it's still not. It does not look like him. I'm trying to use Liquify tool to fix some of that, but it is slow going. It took a long time before any sort of likeness took form on this, despite the fact that I think the proportions are all fairly spot on. Maybe his eyes are a little bright right now, and obviously I haven't painted enough of his forehead. I knew going in that drawing someone with thinning hair like him was going to be a challenge. I'd never really done that before, so that was kind of interesting. I think I'm just going to let this play out for a few minutes, and I will be back to talk more in a bit. Because I was drawing this from a screen grab from a movie, the colors were not quite what I wanted, so I basically put a hue saturation adjustment layer and desaturated the whole image so that I could view the values. Then I placed a levels adjustment layer over that and adjusted the values until they were just a little more of a full range, a little darker darks, a little brighter whites. Then I use the hue saturation adjustment layer to desaturate the colors, because when you use a levels adjustment layer, the colors will get kind of blown out, and you usually need to tone it down again. But I think it's looking a little bit better now. Some of the Liquify tool work that I did on his mouth is helping to get that smirk that he has. I think something in the eyes is still not quite right, and obviously the hair is still weird, and I think that that's hurting the likeness as well. Trying to figure out what I want to do for the background. I didn't have a real great idea. I'm just working with colors that I think will look good for this sort of portrait. Obviously, it's a stylized portrait that you want him to look good. You want it to be kind of beautiful and nice. Obviously, I'm not going to put him on that yellowish background from the screen grab. One thing that you'll always hear in any sort of portrait tutorial is how skin is not one color. We don't just have, sort of peachy skin or darker skin. You have different colors in your skin. There's blues, there's purples, there's reds, there's yellows. And your face also has what are called color zones, where a man tends to have a little bit of a grayer look, especially someone who has a lot of facial hair. You've heard of 5 o'clock shadow. That kind of leaves the whole bottom of your face looking gray. But even if you don't have 5 o'clock shadow, that skin tends to just be a little bluer, a little grayer. Your nose and all of that tends to be a little redder. That's where, when we get cold, your ears, your nose, they get red, and your forehead can tend to be a little more yellow. I just added a little bit of blue to his chin area, and now I'm going through and sort of masking it out, lowering the opacity, just so you get a bit of that color in there. You don't want him to look like he has a beard or anything. You just want there to be different zones of color on his face and a little blues and purples mixed throughout. If you're wondering about the picture of Brian Dennehy on the bottom left, well, basically when you're drawing from a photo that is low resolution, sometimes what you can do with celebrities is find another photo that's a little higher resolution where you can see some of those details, and then you can transfer those details over to your low resolution picture. For example, I could barely make out Brian Dennehy's very recognizable moles on his face, so I was using the other photo to see where the moles were so that I could draw them in, even in the areas on the screen grab where the moles were kind of blurry and hard to see, like the one on his lower lip and the one on his, what is now his right cheek, even though the picture is flipped horizontally. I've done a few portraits like this in the last couple years, but I hadn't done one for a while, and I forgot what my favorite texture brush was called. So I was looking for it for a long time, and I finally found it, and it was very creatively called Texture Brush 3. So I would recommend that you name your brushes a little more descriptively. As you can see, I think I got his hair looking pretty good. Now I'm going through with the Oil Rig Smudge Tool Preset brush that I got from Zoe Peel. It's part of her watercolor brush preset pack. I find that it's really nice to add a little bit of a organic feel to digital paintings. It seems kind of silly probably for traditional painters to see a digital artist draw a straight line and then go back with a blurry tool to smudge it, but I like the effect that it gives, and ultimately that's what I care about, the finished product. Okay, I think the likeness is starting to come together. I'm adding in some more highlights, just again, really pushing those values. You want some real bright highlights and some real dark lowlights. You just don't want to start that way because it can be too harsh if you start that way. So yeah, now I'm going through adding a little more detail to his jacket, even though I am probably going to use some more blurs on that as well. The smudging, I think, helps add this ethereal quality to it that obviously with a piece like this is a nice feel. We're just trying to remember him in a place and time with the smile and the sparkle in his eye. Speaking of which, I'm about to add the sparkle in his eye. Now it's time to add some grain. Start by adding a 50% gray layer, then add 400% noise, blur it, and desaturate it. I also added a curves adjustment layer, which is like levels, only better. Now I'm doing selective color on every color range, white and black. I'm going to get my final colors locked in, and then we'll take a look at the final piece. Alright guys, here it is. What do you think? Did I capture his likeness? He's so iconic in my mind that it's honestly kind of hard for me to tell whether I did or not, so you're going to have to let me know in the comments. What's your favorite Brian Dennehy movie? Like I said, I mentioned that First Blood and Tommy Boy are probably mine, but I know that he's got a huge catalog. He was a prolific actor. Obviously, he's going to be missed in movies, but my heart really goes out to his friends and his family. that's going to be it for today. Stick around to learn about the giveaways we're going to do, and thanks a lot for watching. Alright, like I said, we're going to be giving away a Huion H610 Pro graphics tablet at 1,000 subs. All you need to do to be entered is to subscribe, turn on notifications, like, and leave a comment on this video. That's going to enter you to win the Huion H610 Pro that we're doing at 1,000 subs, as well as the $50 gift card that we're going to be giving away at 750 subs. We've been giving them away at every 250 subs. The last one was at 500, and our next drawing will probably be this month. Thanks for watching the video, guys. My name is Sean. This has been Draw Every Day, and we'll be back with another video tomorrow.